They took this disease as a curse, not as a sickness. The most significant symptoms of this disease are antisocial behavior and an extreme persecution complex. The eventual suicide caused by defects in the lymph nodes are also a unique characteristic. The unusual behavior of terminal patients is what inspired the legend of the demons coming out of the swamp and attacking the villagers. Basically, sick villagers developed severe persecution complexes and wound up killing other villagers. After a long time, survivors of the disease started to comprehend its rules. They discovered that the disease is incurable once you contract it. That's why they started barring outsiders from entering the village. Also, once you become ill, you begin developing a persecution complex. This can happen to anyone in the village. The doctrine of Oyashiro-sama says that the blood of humans and demons is mixed together, and that Oyashiro-sama has control over the violent blood of the demons. People said that you'd be cursed if you didn't follow Oyashiro-sama's rules. That could also be understood to mean that as long as you followed Oyashiro-sama's rules, you could cope with this endemic disease. This is what was meant by the scripture in Oyashiro-sama's legend that said that they appeared, unified humans and demons, and made them live together in the village. Then there was the most important part, the rules to prevent symptoms from appearing. Those rules were the taboos, and people were strictly taught that Oyashiro-sama would curse them if they broke those rules. The horrible bloody traditions of the village were probably performed in order to force people to respect these taboos. There are several ways to keep the disease under control, but there are two main conditions for doing so. The first one is to prevent suspicion. When the villagers are suspicious of someone, it can trigger their persecution complex, which can lead to them developing terminal symptoms. That's why they made sure to have a tightly knit community so that the people wouldn't suspect each other. Since the terror of Oyashiro-sama's curse is emphasized, many don't know this, but she's also a god of marriage and neighborly love. However, this condition is not as important as the other one. Indeed, Oyashiro-sama isn't even recognized as a god of friendship in Hinamizawa anymore, and is only worshipped as such in Okinomiya's Hirosaka district. Now, for the other condition. This one is much clearer and was practiced more strictly. If villagers leave Hinamizawa, they will fall ill quickly, proportional to the distance from the village. Villagers nowadays will not get sick as rapidly, even if they leave town or even go out of the country for a long time. However, long ago they would fall ill as soon as they left the village. It's very fortunate that Keiichi got infected so soon after he moved to the village. It was also very unfortunate that he got sick just because he left the village for a few days to go to his relative's funeral in that one world. That's why Hanyu felt so bad for him that one time, and kept on apologizing over and over, although no matter how much she apologized, he never heard her voice. This turned into a long discussion, but these rules, etched around Oyashiro-sama's curse, represent the ancient wisdom of how to cope with the Hinamizawa syndrome. Is there any way to use this mental disease for military purposes? The aforementioned doctor insisted there was, but the military didn't listen to him at all the time. They were interested in developing a weapon that could make dramatic change to the war efforts. They didn't may have any money to spare for the research of this strange disease. In this way, research on Hinamizawa syndrome was abandoned. Then the war ended. Japan started its reconstruction under American leadership. However, some powerful people in the political world didn't want to accept the American way of thinking. Some of them were fired by the GHQ, but they still stayed on as advisors to the government, since Japan has a culture of respecting the elderly. Eventually, a political organization was formed, the object of which was to restore Japan to the way it was before the war. In the beginning, this organization was a very small group. It was just a gathering of 2 or 3 individuals who shared the same ideals, blowing hot air at a restaurant. Those 2 or 3 hit it off with each other and grew to the size of a class reunion. That group became a rather sizable organization, eventually becoming a political one. Well, it would be more acceptable to call them a secret society. This secret society eventually came to be called the name of the place where it was based, Tokyo. There are many mysteries about Tokyo. One thing I knew for sure is that it was composed of old men from Japan's political stage. Ones with strong power to indirectly influence the government and vast assets. That meant they could work from the shadows. They were also connected to various corporations, and their goal was to return Japan to the way it was before the war. Of course, that was a pretty ridiculous goal. It was nothing more than an idea in their minds, immediately after the war, back when they were still bowing their heads to the occupation forces of those white barbarians. Once Japan's post-war reconstruction began, Tokyo steadily became a shell of its former self. But it didn't totally become a shell. It culled the fat. Japan regained its peace in years past. However, some people still continue to believe that Japan had been better before the war, and they were determined to return the country to those times. So this Tokyo plotted how to restore pre-war Japan from the many angles. They approached the problem economically, internationally, and militarily as well. Japan has no nuclear armaments due to the 3 non-nuclear principles. In other words, this country has to brown-nose America as long as they hold nuclear weapons. The number one priority of Tokyo is to be independent from America. They want this country to be on equal footing, and to obtain a weapon of mass destruction that isn't nuclear in nature. That was the reason why they started thinking about utilizing Hinamizawa syndrome. However, they couldn't study this disease openly. In order to utilize it for military purposes, they had to hide the existence of the disease itself. So they enlisted one young researcher, Kyosuke Irie. I need to make it clear that Irie isn't some far-right supporter of the secret society. He's just a young, capable doctor and an earnest researcher. He published an innovative thesis, but other than academics thought he was too radical. However, that convinced Tokyo that he was the only researcher suitable to study Hinamizawa syndrome. As someone young and ambitious, Irie was thrilled to take on the project of studying this rare disease with a large budget, a large staff, and his own facility. But researching the disease would mean that he'd end up infected too. No one would want to take on such a dangerous research. He really was too young. With his other option being wearing down his youth, working hard at the night shift for a local practice, he wanted to answer the expectations of the sponsor who carefully selected him. In the end, Irie was able to uncover that, as hypothesized, the Hinamizawa syndrome was a unique infectious disease, and he developed both a treatment and a vaccine. Irie was extremely talented. The Irie Institute was formed to study the disease. Irie was nominally the head of the organization, but Tokyo still sent out a supervisor, because when all was said and done, he was just a researcher. That supervisor was Mio Takano, his nurse. Takano's job at the Institute was to act as a go-between for Tokyo and Irie, manage the research progress, and preserve its secrecy. The latter was the most important part of her job. She had to do her best to prevent people from finding out that Irie was researching the disease, or even that the disease exists at all. The Mountain Dogs were formed for that purpose. They were under Takano's command, and their job is to prevent the Institute's secrets from being discovered. The Mountain Dogs are one Special Forces unit, specializes in unconventional warfare, and owned by Tokyo with its vast influence on the SDF. Tokyo had set their eyes on the likelihood that a small elite squad of covert operatives would be a trump card in the anti-nuke era, so they vigorously investigated those options. This was a worldwide trend. Since the Cold War, everyone avoided sending troops directly to their enemy's doorstep. Japan was also trying to be part of that world. As a result, by 1983, even the police have been forming secret special forces units. Prefectural Police Squad 2, the ones who intervened when Rena laid siege to her school, changed their name to Zero Company and grew into an anti-terrorism squad that handled hijackings around the Kansai airport area. The National Police Agency Squad 6 was formed as a counterterrorism squad for Narita Airport 2, and they later changed their name to the 7th Company as well. They theorized that in a world where nations possess nukes, they can't use small elite special forces. Disrupting metropolitan areas would be the new way of waging war. So in 1977, they developed the SAT's predecessor, the Special Task Force SAP, to serve as the National Police Agency's trump card in securing the peace. Likewise, the Japan Coast Guard established their Special Task Force, the SST, in anticipation of unconventional warfare on the coast. There are several known Special Forces units in Japan. When they hear the phrase, like Special Forces, most people tend to think of a movie or a comic book. However, these units actually exist and are protecting Japan in secret. During the famous incident of suspicious boats off the coast of Noto Peninsula, the news reported that the boats sank before the helicopter squad trained in gun battles, so the squad was recalled. But that was because the Coast Guard's SST acted. However, the news never mentioned that the SST or any other Special Forces units. All of these units were established after Tokyo made a suggestion about it to the government. Researching military tactics under the name of peace and order worked perfectly for Tokyo, but since the mid-century anti-war movement made people resent these forces, these special units have been kept secret as of 1983. Furthermore, these units are not all formed under the jurisdiction of the police. There are still many other military units that are kept secret from the average citizen. The Mountain Dogs are actually one of those special units. They specialize in kidnapping, espionage, and preserving secrecy. You might as well call them an assassination unit. They were around during the dam conflict as well. Tokyo worked to put an end to the dam project because of the impact it would have on Erie's research. The Mountain Dogs were the ones who kidnapped the Minister of Construction's grandson. Most people believe that the Sonozaki family was at the center of the movement, but in reality, the Mountain Dogs were responsible for many of the things the Sonozakis were accused of. In that sense, the existence of the Sonozaki family was an advantage to the dogs. Their main job after the dam conflict ended has been to continue keeping the disease hidden from the public. With the spread of information networks in the modern age, the media jumped onto any unusual incident and quickly aired it to the whole nation. Another interesting thing is, remember in the Chapter 6 story, how Mio Takano has like 20 different notebooks of like crazy stuff, and she like spreads those stories around. Like, she literally gave Retta the book about aliens. I think that one was called like Rule 34 or something. Tokyo doesn't want the disease to be known nationwide since they're trying to utilize it for their own purposes. The main task of the Mountain Dogs is to kidnap people suffering from Hinamizawa syndrome. They pose as gardeners, but in actuality they patrol the village to make sure nothing strange happens. They're the ones who demon away people who go missing. They are probably also involved in some of the mysterious deaths too. They're involved, like Mio Takano was literally the person who killed Oishi's best friend, the head of the construction. Also, the Mountain Dogs were the ones who kidnapped Satoshi right after he bought the stuffed animal to give to Satoko as a present. And then, sliced open his head while he was still alive. He did not remain alive for long. The last important person is Jiro Tomataki. I don't know his real name. He was an auditor who was sent from Tokyo 4 times a year. He came to check on the progress of the research and outlined requests from Tokyo. He discussed the research budget with Irie too. He also got the observation report on Irie from Takano. That was his purpose. Irie started out by studying the autopsy results of dead villagers, and he discovered many answers from that. In 1979, the Mountain Dogs kidnapped the culprit behind the murder of the construction chief, who was a terminal patient of Hinamizawa syndrome. The nature of the disease was dramatically clarified. Their research made rapid progress after that, and they discovered a vaccine, medication, and other methods of treatment for the disease. At the same time, they continued to investigate how to utilize it for military purposes. One of the interesting findings of the research was that the pathogen can only be found when the patient is still alive. On top of that, they couldn't detect the presence of the pathogen at all unless they used a certain inhumane method. In other words, it's virtually impossible to detect the pathogen by normal means. It left almost no trace, and the unusual symptoms it produced seemed like voluntary behavior, so they concluded the disease could be used to their advantage. However, Tokyo has been going through some changes. It's been almost 50 years since the war ended. The leaders and shadows behind Japan's government who ruled from the center of Tokyo began growing infirm in their opening up seats, steadily passing their leadership to the new generation. The whole organization has started to shift. Of course, the purpose of Tokyo has stayed the same. It's still a secret society of ultra-nationalists who want Japan to be at the top of the world. However, their ambition to start a war with America and take over the world has diminished. Tokyo has directed its priorities toward the economy, international affairs, and education. That doesn't mean that those ambitions are gone entirely, however. Several seniors still alive retain those ambitions. Tokyo continues to finance military research, but for the present day, Tokyo Erie's research is actually something of an embarrassment. The new Tokyo is no longer interested in his project, and they announce that they're going to cut their budget as soon as those seniors pass away. However, Erie objected to that plan. He strongly appealed for the continuation of his research. This is what Okanoki was talking about. Erie's in disagreement with Tokyo. Erie's research has been making great progress. They've discovered various treatments and testing methods, and he's even starting to develop a treatment plan for the whole village. If they cut his funding, Erie's research would end without any results. Tokyo had a discussion with Erie through the Tomataki, and they decided to shut down his research partially but not fully. However, they told him to immediately stop researching military applications of the disease, and to destroy all the research data related to that. He had little interest in weaponizing the disease anyway, so Erie accepted those terms right away. Tokyo probably believed that it was better to let him find a cure for the disease than to terminate the project entirely. At this point, Erie considers himself one of the villagers. Perhaps exterminating the disease infecting the villagers without their knowledge is his way of atoning for using the village to advance his research and reputation. Both Tokyo and Erie agreed to fully terminate his research as soon as he discovered a way to completely eradicate Hinamizawa syndrome. Erie made a plan for the next 3 years, and he promised that he would find a resolution by 1986 at the latest. The meeting they had this June was to discuss the plan and budget for the next 3 years. Which brings us back to the beginning. One theory goes that Erie is in opposition with Tokyo, and as his trump card, he's planning to kill Rika Furude. The other theory is that Takano killed Tomataki as her trump card, and she's going to kill Rika Furude. I suppose I need to explain why Rika Furude can be a trump card. The answer to that lies in the ancient traditions of Hinamizawa. Supposedly members of the Furude family have the blood of Oyashiro-sama in their veins. I explained earlier that Oyashiro-sama was made up as a method for having people cope with the disease. However, that's actually not true. For the demons, the pathogen, to survive, a certain being must be present. That being is the successor of the Furude family line. The truth behind the advent of Oyashiro-sama and the coexistence of humans and demons is that Oyashiro-sama was actually the queen of the village. According to Erie's research, Rika is adored by the whole village not only because she is a charming little girl, because she's the queen carrier. Infected patients are unconsciously driven to protect their queen. Erie says that this is done with pheromones. Rika Furude's mother was also adored by everyone since she was little. However, as soon as she gave birth, people's attention quickly shifted to Rika. Erie calls this the succession of the throne. The queen is a precious existence to people in this village. There are theories that carriers of the disease are actually unable to survive when away from the queen, not from the village itself. Erie's research indicates that the queen can only survive in Hinamizawa, and infected patients can only stay alive when they're around her. But this is just a theory. Surprisingly, however, the doctor who first discovered the syndrome was also aware of the existence of the queen. That doctor was also knowledgeable about Hinamizawa's culture, and he was interested in how much value the village placed on the Furude family. He theorized that the queen lying in the Furude bloodline might have the power to manipulate the whole village. The truth is still unknown, but perhaps the Furude family really has held such power since ancient times. Miraculous power that would make them perfect for serving in the priesthood. Although, the only thing that Rika can do is to be doted upon by the villagers. If all this is true, then the question is what would happen if the queen disappeared from the village. During the war, a doctor prophesied that if the queen were to die, then all the infected would show terminal symptoms, and the whole village would be wiped out. He advocated for strict preservation of the queen's host. Rika is important to Tokyo not only because Erie found many answers after running tests on her body. If Rika Furude dies, the 2,000 people in Hinamizawa will turn into demons. It would happen too fast for people to even realize that they're getting sick. They will each be overcome with a violent persecution complex and start killing each other out of fear. This is why the mountain dogs are protecting the queen, Rika Furude. Her death spells the end of the whole village. That's why Rika Furude is the trump card, for those who know that she's the center of the whole epidemic. This is the story of Hinamizawa. Our tale begins in June 1983. Tokyo's liaison Tomataki was found dead of the disease even though he was vaccinated against it. On the same night, Takano was also kidnapped and murdered, though I don't know for sure if she's really dead or not. Rika Furuta is also going to be murdered soon enough. While I've suspected Eri and Takano, this was my first time doubting Tokyo. I always thought that they were on my side. They had to be. My death would lead to nothing but disaster unless that's what they want. At the same time, there might be people within Tokyo who could use my death as a trump card. I never considered that there were opposing factions within Tokyo. I guess I was naive enough to not realize that Tokyo had internal problems due to the generation gap. Anyway, I wouldn't be feeling this way if I didn't suspect that Takano might still be alive. I feel like I'm starting to see the greater picture. It's possible that Takano is the victim. It's possible too that Takano is the victim and Eri is the bad guy. The mountain dogs might be on my side, or they might be assassins who are trying to kill me. I was too scared to choose a wine that might be at the risk of having something poisonous mixed in which case I could rest assured with a fresh, unopened bottle, even if it was a little bad. After telling everything to my friends, I finally realized that I could only trust them and the police. I'm really dumb. I thought I was thinking so hard, but I never actually understood anything. After all this time, I made things clear just by talking about them with my friends. I'd never have thought it would make such a big difference. Meep. And that's the end of my story. As I thought, everyone was staring at me with their mouths open in shock. Even Oishi wouldn't believe a story like this. That's only normal. He's going to be here later tonight. If only we could recorded this and just replayed it back for him, because we had to explain everything again. I'm sure I sound like a crazy person. Satoko? We go to the clinic every week to help with Iri's research, right? We're actually not just helping him. We go there so you can get treatment. I remember you told me that Satoko is ill. Me? Ho, ho, ho! As you said, it's not only me, but the whole village that is infected with the disease. Why would I have to take the shot every day and not everyone else? I thought it was just a new type of vitamin that the coach is developing. At one point, you were a terminal patient, Satoko. That's why you need 2 shots every day to keep your symptoms under control. Iri is very passionate about saving you, but he still can't find a better treatment than that. Don't think that he's not still working hard to find a cure, though. Don't joke around. I thought we were getting financial support by aiding his research. I don't want to get those shots every day for the rest of my life. Satoko looked... what, you don't want to take shots for another 2 days? 2 hours? Satoko looked upset that she had been completely ignorant of all of this. She also didn't want to accept the reality of having to manage her condition. Her fake laughter, sadly, echoed in everyone's ears. Keiichi opened his mouth to speak. So, if she misses a shot, she'll react like she did the other day. Teppei was not helping. There was a day where she forgot to take a shot. She convinced herself that the principal was her uncle. Her fear escalated, and she thought her uncle came inside the school to take her back home. Again, I feel like, given that way he was, I don't think you need Hinamizawa syndrome to have that reaction. Once she feels that way, there's no turning back for her. Yes, she will. That's why I tell her to be sure to take her shot every day. I don't believe you. What do you mean I'm a terminal patient? Why me exactly? I refuse to believe it. When did I even become so sick? Satoko's face contorted as tears began to flow from her eyes. I shouldn't have said this. Satoko is starting to remember something she's not supposed to. I'm sorry, Satoko. You don't have to remember. That was just an accident. It wasn't your fault. Sad noises. No, this is a lie. You're just lying to us. Ugh. The others probably had no idea what Satoko was talking about. They don't need to know. They don't want to know about it because they're her friends. Rena gently touched Satoko's shoulder. She gently touched mine too. We believe your story, Rika-chan. Thank you. And you've been carrying such a heavy burden for a long time. I'm proud of you. You've been struggling all alone to this day. I never thought Rena would say something like that to me. My eyes are filling up with tears. It's difficult to have a secret that you can't tell people. Mine was hardly a big deal compared to yours. But I can still sympathize with you. I'm still, hiding the fact that I talk to God and I can time loop, but very poorly. With emotional trauma. I'm basically a Subaru from Konosuba, or, that story Undertale. Or Rick and Morty, The Prestige. But I can still sympathize with you. I agree. You've done your best too, sis. I often shift the blame onto you to relieve myself so I can tell. You're all going to believe my story? Of course. We said we'd believe you. It's a bit of a relief since a lot of the questions about this village are answered now. So, is everyone in this village infected by the disease, that Hinamizawa syndrome? Yes. Everyone is infected. If I die, everyone dies. But unlike hundreds of years ago, this disease is much weaker now. That's why people can survive even if they move far away or go somewhere far trip. But some people still get sick, right? I'll never leave this village again. Ha ha ha. Even if you do get sick, you can still control the illness yourself. It's very simple, yet very difficult. If you think you might be suspicious of someone, don't be. Continue to trust in them. When you become too suspicious of someone, that suspicion will degenerate to a persecution complex, and it will be too late. So long as everyone stays friendly and united, we will never have to worry about this disease. This disease starts with anxiety. Modern people don't believe in curses the way people long ago did. That might be why we're more tolerant to the disease. I see. Then we should be fine. Yep, we're friends and we're family. We would never suspect each other. I'm going to believe everything that you said today. You couldn't talk because you were afraid that the mountain dogs would hurt us, right? They're still going to murder all of us. But at least this time you know why you're being stabbed to death or shot. As opposed to the very confusing what the fuck's going on. I don't want to think that the mountain dogs have bugged this room. But if Okanogi overhears this conversation, they will definitely kill not only me, but all of my friends tonight. That's true, no matter who my enemy is. Well, it sounds as if we should get ready for battle. It sounds as if we should all get ready for battle. Let's sum up the story. Someone might come and kill you, knowing that your death will cause chaos and destruction in the village. Is that correct? They'll definitely... So even if they don't murder everyone else will just murder everyone else and themselves. They're just being proactive about it. Basically, they're murderers, and they're impatient. They'll definitely come for me. Are you sure? Will they get rid of their trump card that easily? She's quite right. A trump card is like a pile of gold. Isn't it better to keep your hands on it? Satoko's eyes were still swollen, but she had stopped crying. I don't know. What's the point of a trump card if you never get to use it? If you're going to play poker, and even then, a lot of poker games penalize you because you have to you have to be able to lay down a hand, right? And using the trump card not only makes it easier to make a hand, but also awards you bonus points. But if you fail to make a hand and you have cards left over, you're penalized for the value of the cards in your hand, and the trump card is a much higher penalty. Which means you might be in more of a rush to use the trump card. Or one could look at it as what's the point of gold if you can't spend it? Heck, I kind of think back to remember when the Hebrews left Egypt? They took a bunch of gold and stuff from the Egyptians when they left. They took a bunch of wealth with them, which I'm sure did come in handy for future generations in Israel. But here's the thing. None of the people that were adults when they left Egypt lived to actually move into the land of Israel. Everyone died in the fucking desert. It was just the next generation. Granted, there was a few stragglers. I think there was Joshua and Caleb's son. And I think basically anybody that was not of adulthood when they left Egypt. But basically everyone, at least I don't know the exact ages, I mean it's not very clear on that. But it is very clear that everyone who was of a certain age, heck, it could be that anyone who was even old enough to know how to talk yet, were all dead before they... And even then, even if you move to a new land, what are you going to use the gold for? Like, who are you going to trade with? All the other factions that were in the land were technically the enemies at the time. So, I mean, what use is gold if you have nowhere to... You have nothing to use it on, and you have no one to trade it with? Like, what function does it serve? They may as well just been carrying bags of rocks and gravel and sand. Like, what use is... Like, especially if you're, like, carrying a backpack full of gold. You know, yeah, it's a bit of a burden, but it's worth it because you're going to be fucking rich forever. But if you can't spend the gold ever or use it ever, then it might as well be a bag of lead. Like, what's the point of having something? It'd be like buying a really awesome video game you're looking forward to, but not playing it. You're just like, oh, look at this, I bought this video game. The disc looks so cool. The instruction, I own it, but you have to actually put it in the fucking game console to play it. I'm just saying this. What's the point of having something if you can't enjoy it? What's the point of having wealth if you can't use it? This seems like an odd thing. But think about it, Satogo. If you have more than one trump card, you don't have to play one of them right away. That's true. It's more effective to have more than one hostage. Yeah, one hostage is not as valuable as many of them. Anyway, we don't know anything for sure. And that means we can't be too optimistic. Everyone nodded in unison. What do you think about the mountain dogs? You think they're our enemies? That's not even a question. They're like wolves trying to watch after the sheep. Just think of all the suspicious people as bad guys. We need to seek help from someone who has nothing to do with Tokyo. I agree. I think you made a good choice with seeking help from the police. Oishi-san is on our side, right? Yes. Oishi doesn't know everything yet, so he thinks that the culprit behind the curse Oishiro-sama is targeting me. I think you should talk to Oishi-san too. We need help from some adults. But that's pretty risky. What if they don't believe her and step away from the investigation? We should still talk to him. He said that he's going to retire this year, and that is his last chance to avenge his old friend. I'm sure he will believe any story, no matter how wild. Yeah, he helped us when we were trying to save Satoko-chan too. I think he'll remain on our side. Okay, let's talk to Oishi. Where is he now? He's out in the Gifu Prefecture. He went to check on Takano's body. Oh, she was found in Gifu, right? Burned to death inside an oil drum. Why does he have to go there directly to check on her? There is a possibility that it might not be Takano's body, but the Gifu Police Department isn't being very cooperative. You said the mountain dogs specialize in preserving secrets and manipulating information, right? That corpse is pretty suspicious. I don't think. She's the kind of person who would die just from being burnt a little, ha ha ha. It's still possible that Eri is the bad guy and that he killed Takano. That's what Okanogi tried to make me believe. You know, the guy who works for Takano. I'd kind of doubt the coach is the mastermind. He's just not that kind of person. I do agree. He's very nice as long as you don't let him talk about maids. As the manager of Hinamizawa Fighters, I also think the coach is innocent. He's more like someone who could be easily used. I agree. I feel like he would be very easy to manipulate, but not a mastermind, but a good person. I also agree that, hey, you know, maybe we should suspect Coach. I mean, the guy who works for the other person that we think is going to murder us. I mean, Takano, the bad person who wants to murder me, well, the person who works for her, also part of a military organization, whose, you know, life is being the person most able to kill me. He said this other person who would be most likely to want to help me is actually the bad guy. The person who wants to destroy the village, and I think wants to kill me, the person who works for that person, is telling me that the person who would want to help me is actually the bad guy. Maybe he's too good. Maybe he's too good of a guy. How? Seems like everyone suspects Takano-san. Well, we're just saying. If we compare the coach and Takano-san, you know? Takano-san would be pretty upset to hear that. Wahahaha. Everyone laughed as though we were in the middle of a club activity. If they're after my life, they'll kill everyone here. It's very possible that they'll all get involved in this mess, and they know that. That they could still laugh is really significant, I think. I started laughing along with them too. It's odd that Takano-san's body was found in Gifu. If someone wanted to make it look like she killed Tomataki, they would hide her body somewhere nobody would ever find. Burning her body in the middle of the woods is like begging people to come across it. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like they're trying to force an unidentified body to be Takano just because it was found outside the prefecture, and the police here can't investigate further. That's the specialty of the mountain dogs, right? I think it's pretty obvious at this point. The mountain dogs are working for Takano-san, right? And the leader of the dogs is saying that the manager is pulling the strings. I bet Takano-san and them are working together. Tomataki-san died the way he did so that Coach would be suspected. But Tokyo is the only organization who would suspect the coach. They also found the body of the true mastermind, Takano-san. Tokyo was suspected the manager killed both of them. I see. This is a well-planned setup, though it's not perfect. By the way, guys, I think Dr. Erie's going to kill himself with a bunch of sleep pills. Maybe we should contact him so he doesn't do that. It sounds like the mountain dogs are setting the coach up. Well, I think we should go talk to Coach directly, especially to prevent him from dying. That's the best way to go about it. That's a good idea. I can tell if he's telling the truth or not. You are very perceptive, just by looking into his eyes. I mean, it's going to be lots of thoughts about sex, but... Also pizza. I want a pizza. Oh yeah, you're good at that, Rena. Son. The mountain dogs are also running security on Irie right now. He might not be able to get on the phone. What? That sounds even more suspicious. I hope the coach isn't in danger right now. Me too. If I was a member of the mountain dogs and I was going to set him up... Maybe they force feed him the fucking sleeping pills. I'd kill him before he said something I didn't want him to say. A dead person can't say anything, huh? Oishi will return as soon as he takes care of business with Gifu. I don't know what time that will be, but he'll be here for sure. Everyone glanced at the clock. It was already past 6:30 p.m. and starting to get dark. No wonder I'm so hungry. We'd usually call it here if this was a normal day, but everyone decided to stay until Oishi came back and discuss what to do. Can I use your phone, Rika-chan? I need to call my dad and let him know that I'm going to be late tonight. I need to call my mom too. You're going to kill your parents. I have to call Granny and tell her to order something for dinner tonight. Heh. You'll be in big trouble later. We have to get something to eat for those officers too. We can order some sushi! Yay! I mean, we're all going to die. Let's have good food. Everyone had a sensitive reaction to the word sushi. Their stomachs were empty after all. The same should be true of those officers too, which are also all going to die as well. Are we going to order something too, Rika? I don't feel like we have that kind of money. Satoko, why don't you cook a stir-fry for everyone? What? I can't. I've never cooked there this many people. Satoko stir-fry? I'd love to try it as long as there's no fingers inside. Satoko-chan, I want to eat your food too. I want to. At that point, the phone rang. This is Detective Oishi. I'm on my way back. I'm bringing 1,000 pizzas. Hello, this is Furude speaking. Oh, glad to hear you are still alive. It's Oishi. I've finished up everything at Gifu, and I'm heading toward Okinomiya right now. I'm calling from the gas station. What about Takano's body? Nufufufu! We did it! We were right! Gifu made one incredible easy mistake on their paperwork. What a stubborn bunch. I really had to let them have it. Let me tell you, Takano and her vehicle are still missing. She may have some information regarding Tomataki's murder, so I've just issued a search warrant for her. I'm getting close to revealing the secret of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I'm going to solve this case. Explosion. Oishi sounded so motivated. He'd finally found the hint. he so desperately wanted. He had strength 27 energy drinks. Could he actually solve the case, though? I'm looking forward to hearing his story. I'm heading to your house with Kuma-chan, so please tell us whatever you know. Could you pick up Dr. Irie? Tell him that I sent you. You can talk to me about it anything you want. Yes, I'm ready to tell you about everything. Oh my, I look forward to hearing it. Nufu? I should be there in about an hour. It sounds crowded over there. Are your friends there with you? Yes, everyone came here to offer their help. I see. You've got some wonderful friends. It's probably better for you to stay with them. Good way to keep the criminals at bay. Right, we're heading out. I'll see you soon. Was that Oishi-san? Yes, he's heading this way with the other detective. How? This is the first time this room will have so many people inside of it. How many people will it be? There's 6 of us here, so 8 people. I do hope our floor won't break. Ow. I'm the 9th person. Hanyu, were you listening to us? This is turning out to be very interesting. Do you think it'll be different this time? It'll be different, but I don't know if we'll survive. Well, I mean, I know from a fourth wall perspective, but Rika doesn't know. It's like a 50-50. Yes, I'm sure. This time is different. Don't say that you're sure. It would devastate you if something ended up changing. Nothing. I mean, it's different. We're just not saying what the end result's going to be. So, Hanyu, you still think that I'm dying today? I don't want you to die. I know what you're thinking. You don't want to believe because you don't want to be hurt. That way, you'll never be let down. I'm not going to listen to your opinions anymore. You just stay there and watch like the bystander you are. Yes, I'm just a bystander, but I'm still rooting for you. Rooting for me. Thanks. But are you sure you want to root for me? Are you sure you won't be hurt if I lose? Oh, don't be mean, Rika. We had a rather harmonious, good mood going. However, a feeling of unease was beginning to settle over us. I'm getting hungry. Want to grab something on the way? Oh, that's right. It's almost 8 p.m. It's not like we're going to stop at a gas station and the mountain dog's going to show up and put a bullet in his brain or anything. Well, later, guys.